All right, welcome back to the call. It's good to be back, and we're here surrounded by a bunch of good folks, and it's springtime here in Georgia. It's warm outside. It's nice. It's in the 70s. It's going to be 71 or 2 today, and then tomorrow's going to be like 55 for the high. It's going to be crazy, and so. But you guys are demanding more content and more stuff, and so we want to oblige to that and get it out there to you. We only got 2 interns today, and Asher's with us, Scott's grandson, and so we're happy to have these guys in the studio with us today. And so, Scott, what's going on with you?
Nothing much. Just trying to get a lot of this stuff done. We've had a busy week trying to finish some of the merchandising. We've just gotten some new stickers, which we hope to have available here pretty soon. If you see us, we'll be bringing you a sticker for your turtle boxes, your gear. We want you to wear these things, put them on stuff, plaster them everywhere. Stacey?
They turned out amazing. They look really good. I mean, we've asked the interns. They were pretty impressed with them. My son Trent's here today in the building. He was impressed with them, and so yeah, they turned out really well. And so yeah, we're excited about that. And in the future, what we're going to have coming in the future is going to be pretty exciting. Not
yes.
Exciting. Yeah. And so today we're going to talk turkey. This warm weather has just got me. I've got turkey fever already. I've had it for several weeks now. After duck season, I usually my switch flips and I start thinking turkey and start working on stuff. So today I think we'll just talk about our pregame stuff. We'll talk about some of the things that we're going to have this month and people coming in that we're excited about coming in. We've got some guests hopefully lined up, in the future, major turkey hunters. We got, it's cool. In our hometown, we have a 4 or 5 time world champion turkey call maker in Clay Townsend. So I'm putting Clay on the spot here. But and then we've got a young man that you and I both know, Hunter Farrier, who is the owner of Spring Legion. And so he used to live here in our town.
That's awesome.
And so now, he's in Mississippi and he has a huge following and just doing amazing things, awesome person. And so hopefully we get Hunter in as he's passing through Georgia for his spring turkey season.
Maybe we can get some tips.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
I'll take any tip that I can get, Stacey. This day and age, you got to get like I told you last podcast, I hadn't probably turkey hunted in probably 20-something years. The secrets that I know may have definitely changed. I think a lot of the things that are out there, it's amazing to me, the technology and stuff. The one thing, I guess that we get a lot of questions is for a person who has not gone turkey hunting, could you think we could break it down for them, kind of give them kind of what they should do?
Oh yeah. I think that's what we're going to talk about today is just for those who are wanting to get into turkey hunting, who's never done it before, or maybe get back into it, hadn't done it in 20 years or whatever. We want to try to help you, set up a way or get a way of getting back into it. And it's tough. I mean, you can be you can do it all year. I've been doing it since I was 19. I'll be 50 in May. And so I've been doing it for 30 plus years, and it's tough. It's always tough. I mean, I don't care how well you think you're doing or how great of a hunter you think you are. Those birds are smart, and I believe they're getting smarter every year. It's almost like
I agree.
Evolution or something. They're getting wiser and wiser to our wicked ways, and so we'll talk turkey. We'll be talking turkey for the next couple of months because it's turkey season. I know Scott's going out of town tomorrow, and he's going to be gone from us for a little while. He's going cruising. Going to be on a cruise, and I know he's looking forward to that, and we're excited for him to get away. If anybody deserves a vacation, bro, you deserve a vacation. My goodness. We were just joking about I don't know if he ever sleeps. I don't know. I mean, really, I don't. He said, I heard him telling the interns, he wakes up at 2:30 and just stays up for a while, goes back, takes a nap, then he goes back straight to work. Is that true?
It's power naps. I'll say this. It started when I was in college. I became a very nocturnal type person. You get to the point where you can function on about 4 to 5 hours at the most a night. And the older I get, I think my mind starts to wander about different things. And we were joking about one of the topics that Stacey brought up just a few minutes ago to the interns is how many men really read. and I am a big reader out there. I read a lot. If you were to go in my bedroom, I mean, I got books of all different things that I'm reading. And one of the things that we try to inspire in you guys is to read. Right? There's a ton of knowledge that you could gain just from learning any topic. And I always joke about it. You guys. Everybody's lucky nowadays because we have YouTube and you can ask any AI thing and get an answer. But I think going back to the old ways, which is definitely the reading.
Yeah, and I love Audible. I love books being read to me when I'm out riding around, doing my hospice chaplain stuff. I'll put an audio book in and I'll listen to an audio book from one place to another, especially if I've got a long drive. Then I'll put an audio book in, or I'll listen to another podcast. Yeah. And so, and that's what I brought in just for a talking point. Hunter Ferrier, who owns Spring Legion's got a couple of good books out, and I've been reading Any Given Spring Morning. It's very good, a lot of information. If you're a new turkey hunter or if you're a veteran turkey hunter, this would be a great read for you. I encourage you to pick it up. You can go to his Facebook page or his Instagram page and pick one of his books. I think he's got 2 books now that he's put out.
Maybe he'll sign one when we get him.
Well, that was the crazy thing. When Hunter lived here, they were moving back to Mississippi, and so they needed help loading a truck. So who do they call? They call the guy with the 5 boys. And so we go over and help him, and he's so humble, he's so kind, he's so giving. And so he gave us all 2 of the books. I got both of the books. And then he's like, pick out anything you want from the store in here. He had like his little, warehouse at his house. And I was like, so I got this T-shirt that I got on. Scott, I think, had it on last time, or had his on. But my boys, they just, it was like candy in kids in a candy store. They just went nuts on all the stuff that he gave to them. And so now they're ordering, they're paying for stuff. But
well, the T-shirts are incredible. If you guys haven't gotten one, my kids are like the first ones to fight over any new T-shirts that I get in. And I just recently bought some from Hunter, and I don't know who he's getting them from, but the quality is incredible. They're super soft. They look good. I think he does a great job with the marketing side of it, and a lot of people that are in the turkey hunting world definitely know who he is, and I think I'll take a stance at it. I would just hope that we could compare notes when he gets here.
Yeah, and he blew up on the turkey scene. Like he got in and just blew up. I mean, it was crazy how fast he took off in the turkey world, and so. It's cool to know people like that, to have people like that, that you can call on and talk to and stuff. And so, we're definitely going to have him hopefully on when he passes through. We're going to try to snag him for about 30 minutes in between hunts in the future. And so we're looking forward to having him and other guests. We got a guest in the room, like we had said earlier.
Did you notice what he has on today, Stacy?
He's got a Sitka T-shirt.
Yeah,
I love that.
He was a Shin guy, but now he is a full. I don't know. Come on over here. You got to come on over here on this side so we can see you.
Yeah,
you got to come over here.
Come on in front of the cameras over between Papa and Stacy. Let's see that.
Come on over here and show them the shirt.
Let the audience, let the people see that shirt.
This is our next generation turkey hunter extravaganza. He is a man of many talents. He is the editor-in-chief of the podcast.
Right, so he's going to be a natural turkey caller. He's not even going to use a diaphragm or a box call. He's going to use his mouth to talk to turkeys. And so we're going to go back and get on the mic.
Yeah, get on your headset over there.
Yeah, and we'll talk to you about
what your dreams and ambitions are.
That's right. So we're going to take advantage of having little Asher in here today. And so this is not planned. We'll just run with it.
Yeah.
But it's good to have Asher. Where'd you put your headphones?
They're behind you right there. You got to put them on there on your head, or you won't be able to hear.
You won't be able to hear us.
Yeah.
But let's talk about turkey hunting. Asher, you heard him doing this little turkey call just now, and it's important, to understand turkeys and understand how they live and what they do and how they roost and how they mate. This I think it's 2 weeks. Next Friday, not this Friday, but next Friday is public land or private land here in Georgia, and then public opens up in April. And so, what's one of the first things that a turkey hunter should do in trying to harvest a turkey? What would you think, Scott? What are the
Oh,
first
I'm
things?
definitely going to roost some birds. I mean, that is definitely if you're having a hard time finding them, right? That's the big thing. And let's say you do find them. That's the next big thing. You start seeing them. You're seeing them come out in the fields during the day. They all are going to roost in some trees, at some point, somewhere, right? And the idea is to start trying to figure out exactly where they're roosting. Because why, Stacy?
Because that's where they're going to be. That's where they're going to come down. That's where that's where you need to be if you can. That's the best way to harvest one is trying to find out where they're roosted and be there. Get as close as you can without spooking them off the roost. Because I've done that many times. I've walked right under them and spooked them off the roost, and just that ruins your hunt. I mean, the hunt's over unless you come back later on that day and find them somewhere, wandering near their roost. But they're going to stick near that roost. I mean, all day long. They usually do like maybe a mile walk or 2 or 3 mile walk, a radius, and then they'll come back to that roost and they'll roost there. And so, Asher, what do you think, Asher? Do you think we're going to be able to harvest and get a turkey this year?
I mean, probably because it's spring and, they usually come out in spring and stay.
That's right. Yeah,
that's right.
Great answer. That is right.
That wasn't what I was expecting, but that was incredible.
That's pretty impressive for someone who just listens to guys talk about turkey hunting. And so, that's really good. And I would say the second thing is make sure concealment. You know what I mean? Turkeys. My uncle. I started hunting turkeys with my uncle when I was 19. And I'll never forget, he said, Stacy, they can see grass grow at 100 yards. Yeah. And so being very still and being concealed, finding a very shady area, if you can get next to a big tree and get concealed, and that's why camouflage is so important. We're Sitka guys, we love Sitka, but I think outside of Sitka camo and their colors, their OptiFade colors, my second favorite camouflage is bottomland. I love bottomland, anything bottomland. I was a bottomland guy before I was a Sitka guy.
See, I go further back, Stacy. I was at Vantage. I was at Vantage back when it first came out, and I loved it because I thought you could use it for so many different things. It wasn't the greatest camouflage to use during the spring because everything's turning green, but for deer hunting and just about any other hunting, it was so multi-purpose. And I think that's the thing that the modern day hunter has that older hunters didn't have, is that they do have such a superior advantage with the camouflage that's available today. You didn't have that 20 or 30 years ago, And I don't know if I told you this, years ago when I started hunting, we had a unique individual, I'm not even going to use his name, actually came. I worked for a textile manufacturer, and he brought a bag of leaves in and wanted us to reproduce the image on that, right? And it was a brand of camouflage, which a lot of people that are old will remember. It used to be called Rattler brand, right? It's made by Thomaston Mills, and that camouflage kind of led the spark because nobody had ever really put camouflage down except for military. You had military contracts, which were basically the OD green and black and the kind of the normals with the military, but nobody had ever done anything that was unique or different. And when they started trying to do that, was to get the imaging. And then when Realtree came around, it was to make the 3D look, which really took camouflage to the next level.
Oh, yeah.
And now you got with Sitka and stuff, is a lot of it's digital stuff that's on there. So I think that the odds are the animals, if you can remain still and you can remain quiet, your odds of killing one go way up compared to what it used to be.
If you can get them within, 30, 40 yards. I mean, I always say if I can get a bird in 30, 40 yards, it's dead. I mean, and I think 60 plus I've killed since I was 19. I think I've missed, I count on one hand how many times I've missed. And the sad thing is 2 of those was last year. Yeah. I mean, I was so sick with myself. I missed 2 birds at 40 or 50 yards, and it was my fault, totally my fault. Couldn't blame the gun, couldn't blame the ammo. Right. It was me, and so. But yeah, if you can find where they're roosting, or if you can just find where they're at, if you know a general area where birds are at, you say, well, how do I find birds? How do I if I can't locate them off the roost, what do I look for? Well, here's what I do. I usually go to a mountaintop. They like if there's public land especially. Yeah. If they're on that public land, go find scratching. Yeah. Go find fresh scratching where they've been scratching around. That gives you a good indication that they're in the area. Yeah. You don't know what time they're going to be there. You can see you can kind of tell sometimes if you've been in the woods enough if it's fresh scratching or if it's old. and find scratching. If you can find a lot of scratching, you're in a good spot.
Yeah.
Hang out there, come back there, because they're going to be passing through there either days or within a day or whatever. So go check that out.
And I think that a lot of them like what I call pine bottoms, right? They like to get in there because a lot of the bugs and the worms and stuff like that will stay in the pine straw. So if you're walking through the woods and all of a sudden you're seeing stuff tore all the way up, that they've been through there. Then the next thing is looking for scant. If you're starting to see, turkey poop everywhere, you know that they're probably stayed in there for large periods of time. My question to you though is, after you've roosted them and you come back the next morning, what is probably your favorite locator call?
I love the hoot. I'll use the hoot, the hoot owl, especially early in the morning. It's so cool. If I don't hear an owl call, then I'll use my hoot, my hoot flute or my hoot.
Are you a slam the door kind of guy?
I am, and listen, that does work. That's another tip my uncle gave me years ago. He's like, man, he said sometimes you just slam the door. He said they'll make them go off, and that has happened to me. As a matter of fact, I was hunting behind a friend of ours' house last year, behind Vince's house, and slammed the door, man. One just hammered. I was like, oh wow, and I was like, it's on. And so I missed that bird. That's one of the birds I missed. No, that was one that got hung up, and that's one thing we'll talk about too, is hung up birds. They'll drive you crazy. They'll drive you nuts. But I love the hoot owl, and I love a crow call during like maybe lunchtime.
Yeah. I'm a hawk guy. I like the hawk. I like that screaming hawk. I think sometimes that and you guys that don't know this, some of the older stuff, what's interesting to me now is I have a lot of calls from 30 years ago, right? And we used to have an adage that if we walked into the Walmart or any store and it had a call in it, that was a call that I was never going to use.
Yeah.
All right?
Oh, yeah.
And why is that? Because most people, the one thing that I would say for turkey hunting, sometimes less is more, right?
100%.
Because what you don't realize is once they realize that you're calling, they identify that, and once they know it's a human doing that, they learn very quickly to stay away from those type of calls. They're not going to return a call. They're not going to answer a call. So you have to be kind of crafty if you're going to kind of get on them or get close enough to them that sometimes calling less or doing small, subtle things than loud calls, right? To get them. Sometimes it's kind of the opposite of kind of duck hunting. Duck hunting, when you're doing a hail call and trying to get them back, I might do that. And if I heard them way off, I would start working my way towards them, right?
Yeah.
And using less calls, but getting closer in until you get close enough that you know that you're in the vicinity of them. So,
and a lot of times with young guys, and I was this way, Scott, when I first got started. A lot of times with young guys, you think, I got to call a lot. I got to call loud. I got to call a lot. And if you understand, it took me years to learn this, that a gobbler, when he's gobbling, he's calling that hen to him.
Yeah.
He's not saying I'm coming to you. He's saying come to me.
Right.
And so the whole process of getting one hung up, sometimes they're hung up because they got a bunch of hens with them.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget, it's been, I guess, 8 years ago, I was hunting on a farm, and I had this Tom. He was out probably 80 yards. He was hung up 80 yards, and he was looking over. He was on a little roadbed looking over to where I was at, and he would not come any closer because he didn't see a hen. He kept looking for that hen, and he wouldn't move. And I did everything that I could to get him. I did fighting purrs. I did everything. I was scratching the leaves, and he never seen a hen. And so I don't hunt a lot with decoys, especially on public land, because you'll get shot.
Yeah.
But I like decoys, and we'll talk about decoys also and the importance of them. But they're so intelligent. It's so hard sometimes. It's so frustrating.
Yeah.
I was reading one line in Hunter's book here talking about how it would drive a sane man, insane. These birds will. The only bird in America that will do that will drive you insane.
Well, I'm going to say this. In the older days, the population was probably a lot less than it is now, and we called it running and gunning, right?
Yeah.
And most of the kills were not kills from being able to call them in, but were more from ambush type camp, where we just actually outsmarted them and got ahead of them. That was where we really produced the results.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that's the other thing. We try so many different calls, and if you ever look, man, there's tons of turkey calls out there. Wingbone calls, slate calls, glass calls. And you're trying, as a young person, I think, and a new hunter, you're trying to think, well, dude, these things aren't cheap, and then I'm trying to figure out which one works the best.
Yeah.
And I would say this, get one call that you think that you could operate. The mouth diaphragms take a little bit of skill to learn how to use them,
yeah.
but they are incredible because you can do them without doing a lot of movement.
Freeze your hands up.
Freeze your hands up for pulling the trigger. It also gives you on there, but it's not the easiest call to learn how to call, right? So you also, I think the one thing that I always loved about turkey hunting is it was always a team of doing it. It was usually me and somebody else because you usually have one guy that would get in concealment. He would get behind the person. You would set that person up to shoot it, and then he would sit there and call.
Yeah.
And I think I told you the other day, I mean, I was never considered myself a great turkey caller by any means, but the guy who taught me, one of the first turkeys that I ever called in was on a slate call. And I tell the story, we had set a buddy of mine up and I had him across a pasture. Me and my good friend Ronnie Goins start calling, and Ronnie is way better. I mean, he mastered all of them very quickly, and he was trying to teach me how to do. We'd been practicing, did this thing with just doing a little purrs on this thing. Well, I'm doing it and he's doing it, and all of a sudden this turkey just goes nuts. I mean, he is every way. It is just constantly one after the other hammering down as soon as the call goes off. Well, Ronnie thinks it's him, right? Because Ronnie's he's the better caller. Every time Ronnie would call, turkey would never answer. I start doing this little purr that was just a goofy hand movement, and this thing just lost his mind. He thought I was the greatest hen out there known to man. And here he comes, and he walked right straight, I mean right within 10 feet of my buddy who shot him. And I thought that was the coolest thing in the world, that I had done something that I could basically fake this mature bird out, and he didn't really realize it. And I'm going to say this, it's the first one, but it's also the most memorable one that I have in my mind of thinking about turkey hunting and what it meant to me. I was so excited that day. I could have cared less who shot that bird, but just to know that I could communicate with that thing and it thought that I was real was the most huge adrenaline rush that I've ever had in my entire life.
It's a huge victory. It is. I mean, it's a victory when you call one in like that.
Yeah.
This podcast is the call.
Yeah.
And so, what was your first call? What was the very first call you ever took out in the woods and tried to use?
It was a Lynch box call. I bought it at Berry Sporting Goods in Griffin, Georgia, probably 1994.
Yeah.
And it wasn't cheap either. It was an expensive box call. And the first thing I did, actually I have it in here, and I tore it used to have rubber bands on it, and I hated the rubber bands because every time I'd put it in my pocket or my pouch, that thing would click against the box, and I'd be sitting down. I was like, oh man, I don't want that thing to go off. So I tore off that, and I've used it. So I keep it out here. I don't use that one anymore. It's a little bit too long for me, but I think you have to play with the things that you did. I started also years ago because kind of like everybody else, you're trying to create a call that you like. So I've actually got a couple of calls, box calls that I made myself that are made out of cedar that I just like the sound of.
Well, you've been holding out on us.
I have been holding.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I got a couple of those, so I keep them in there. But those, I would say my favorite of all is a Nightingale box call, short box call. And I was a huge Nightingale guy. I loved their calls. I loved their slate calls at the time that they had them. And the fighting purrs were by far, if you get somebody that really knows how to do the fighting purrs, that is the most incredible thing that you have ever seen.
Yeah.
Between the drumming and the excitement that goes on, those gobblers will go absolutely nuts with a fighting purr. It is incredible.
It is. I mean, it just brings them in, especially early season because they're looking for a fight. Those bachelor groups are kind of breaking off and they're trying to breed the hens, and so they're looking for a fight. And if you can perfect the fighting purr, I mean, you can put some turkeys in the back of your vehicle, big time.
It's so weird because the other day I got online and you're looking at things because I had some stuff that I had moved and had lost a couple of calls that I really liked. And I was looking the other day for a Primos. It used to be a wing call, or it was a wing that it was a true turkey wing that they used to have a plastic one. You can't find them. They don't make them anymore. You can't see them anymore. So if you guys have got them out there, they're incredible. So I guess the first one I'm going to kill is going to be me a wing, and I'm going to take the wing off of one because I'm going to make my own. The idea behind that, to me, that is such an effective fly down call. Especially in the early mornings, if you know you've got them roosted and they're in there and you start doing that flapping of that wing, they think that other turkeys are in that area. They tend to congregate together. They're very much a social bird. So if you get them in that thing, but the problem is if you make them any mistake and you get them off, they're gone, right? I mean,
That's true,
they're
yeah.
super fast, and I always said it. Me and Stacey talk about it all the time. I said, if they could smell you, I don't know if you'd ever kill one of those things.
I think it'd be impossible. If they could smell or hear you, their hearing's not that great either. But if they could smell and hear, you never would kill a
Right,
turkey.
right.
And so we talked about roosting. We talked a little bit about equipment and things that we bring in, product that we bring in. My very first call was an easy yupper. It was HS Strut easy yupper. Just use it with your finger, and it was so easy to operate. And then I went to a box call, and then slate and glass and the diaphragm. My goal now, Scott, because you inspire me so much, is to master the diaphragm. I want to master everything I can. The Kiki run. I was on the Kiki run yesterday, and it sounded pretty good. And so I'm like, well, And another thing I've always wanted to do, talking about locating, was be able to do an owl call with my voice. You see those guys who go out there and just, I'm like, I want to do that. And so I want to be able to master that before I leave this earth. But so what's going to be in your bag? We're talking to young guys who are maybe just starting out, maybe just getting into turkey hunting. What are some? I mean, toilet paper is one of the things I always tell people. Make sure you bring toilet paper and now dude wipes or whatever, because it's a long day. You do a lot of walking. If
It's hot.
It's hot. Bring
Gotta
you
have
water.
water.
Bring you water too. But what else is going to be in your vest?
Definitely going to have some spray, because I hate ticks, right? And that's the first thing in early spring. You get up in the morning, it's super cold, all right? And I hate it because you're fighting the weather. It's cold, and by the time you get ready to leave, you're sweating to death because you've got on long sleeves, you got all this stuff on. So you have to kind of learn to modulate what clothing you can. And I also don't want to carry a lot of weight, right? I don't want to carry a heavy jacket. Not only that, but I'm going to be dragging that thing around. So I try to find a jacket that I can wear. The other thing that's a big thing for me is always have chalk. If you're going to use a box call, you have got to have the chalk. It's just like a pool cue, man. You got to chalk that thing up. I always chalk my box calls. That was my thing, and because even the small amount when you're in close range that I can just click it with my hand or my thumb. I think that's another thing that brings it in, and not having like I said the other day, I was joking with it because I bought Asher and myself some diaphragm calls, right? And I bought some for him, which were the beginners, which now they have it, because that's the other problem, is getting the diaphragm call high enough in your mouth and to be able to use your tongue. Well, that sounds easy, but it's not.
It's not.
Right?
It's so tough.
So they make a call with a pre-made plastic piece that goes in the roof of your mouth, which kind of helps you to learn to place your tongue, to get the pressure that you need to get the reeds to break when you want them to break, right?
That's cool, yeah.
Which is for like any purrs or clucks or stuff like that, or and I always say that I'm probably more of that, because I think once they come in, the thing that you'll also remember with turkey hunting is a lot of times, even though they're with the gobblers, the hens are usually what I call the anti-theft device, right? They are going, if all of a sudden they hear another hen that's making a noise, they want to investigate before the tom comes out.
Oh, yeah.
So they're kind of running interference for him, and they are super smart. So they work their way into the woods, and you're trying to be still so that you don't flag them and get them all fired up. But you're getting hung up between them, right? Because if all of a sudden you get between her and the gobbler, that'd be the ideal situation, because you're going to cut her off. It's like silencing the girlfriend and working that rhythm. So I mean, that's
because hens usually come in that there's usually a tom or two toms and some jakes running with 10 or 15 hens, and you got all those eyeballs just scouring the area looking for any kind of predator or anything like that. And so it can be really tough, especially if you try to kill one or harvest one with a bunch of hens. I have found over the years, and I was telling somebody the other day, that I've killed most of my birds between 10 and 2. And so that's when the toms, usually the hens break off from the toms to go sit on their nest, and then the toms are still looking for love in all the wrong places. And so usually I can kill one if I can get them away from the hens. But I have killed them with the hens. I mean, it's harder, but I have killed several with the hens. But
the other big advantage, and me and Stacey were talking about the other day, especially in the early spring, you're going to have rain, right? If you have not had a chance to go turkey hunting, and you can't seem to get yourself up in the morning, and you can't go roost them at night, and there is a rainstorm, you have got to get in your vehicle and get to a field on a road, right? Those turkeys will walk the road. If you guys are any kind of veteran knows this, I mean, you get young guys may not know that. We got a heavy breather up there, and I think that they get out there, and what I guess they come down and they try to get. They're always the way I kind of think about it is. You take away all their senses, right? You take away their sight, you take away their hearing. They don't really have a smell. So all of a sudden, if it's raining, everything smells clean. They don't have a human smell. They don't have their hearing. They can't hear anything for all the rain doing. So they got to get out of the woods. So their idea is to get out of the woods so they can start looking at it. The great thing is it doesn't take a rocket scientist to set up on the side of the road on a logging road and just wait for them because they're coming. All right. And if you don't spook them, they'll probably pass through, and the gobblers will be right behind them. That's the other thing.
Yeah, and that's true. And if you can find out where they're roosting and they're headed back to roost, that's another way that I've always harvested birds is getting between them and their roost in the afternoons. But yeah, if you see them in the field, and even if it's private property, go ask permission.
Yeah.
I have done last several years. Me and Josh Parker, who's a friend of mine up in just north of us. He loves to stalk and hunt. He'll put you in a creek and you're waist deep in the water, trying to get to where the bird is in the field. But matter of fact, the bird that we have here in our studio, I stalked that bird in a creek, and it had just come a flood like the day before. And so we're going up this creek, and I'm trying my best to get through the water. It's pushing me back. I mean, I'm waist deep. I mean, I'm just like I'm duck hunting, but it's pushing me back. And he's like, "Man, you think you can get to it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll get to it. No, just give me a minute." And so the bird never seen us. I popped up out of the creek, popped him at like 40 yards. I was shooting a 12 gauge with TSS, and I think it was like 48 yards. We walked off, and so it was just it was a cool hunt because it was almost like we were at war. We were, playing army, as kids, and we were in this creek, walking up this creek, and so I've harvested 2 or 3 birds like that with him. He'll see him in the field. He'll call me and say, "Hey man, how close are you to my house?" And I'm like, "I'm 30 minutes." He said, "We get here." And so that's another way that if you're out there and you're a young guy, and
don't be afraid to ask. I tell them all the time. I said, especially some of these elderly people, if you're willing to help them out and say, "Hey, if you'll just let me hunt, I'll pick up garbage. I'll do whatever you
I'll
have.
mow your yard.
Yeah.
I'll clean your gutters. Whatever."
It could be lifelong. I call it lifelong friendships that you just really don't know until you do that. And a lot of people is like, "Well, I don't want to be told no." Well, maybe it's no this time, and maybe a year from now it might be a yes.
That's
you
true.
never know that, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing is you are the conservationist of the land. So that also means that when you have water bottles and stuff like that, or trash from food, don't leave it on the property. Pick your garbage up, take it with you, right? Put it in a pocket, take it out. If you see garbage, pick it up. That's the other thing. If you show respect for their land, I think that's a big thing for a lot of elderly people. They just don't feel like young people do are respectful of stuff. So if you beat out 75% of I call it the competition, and you're asking, or and then I would say, I know it's a no now, but I'll call you back next year, and just would you mind me calling?
Yeah.
And a lot of times they think you're serious about it, they'll say yes.
And often if they're going to let you hunt, take care of them. I've sent them birthday cards. I have sent landowners birthday cards with a Longhorn Steakhouse gift card in there.
Yeah.
I've tried my best to keep some of these these spots that I knew was just amazing. And so just take care of the landowner, take care of the land, and like you said, you make friendships for years. And so one of my greatest places I got to hunt was in North Dalton, and it was a farmer up there that I just made buddies with, and I thought I harvested 12 gobblers off of his farm over the years, and so and that's the thing, is finding a place to hunt, and that's the biggest thing, is having a place to hunt.
Well, I always used to joke, my buddy Ronnie, when we lived in Griffin, we used to go to Barnesville, and we had a place that we hunted, an older farmer that his wife had passed away. He had no kids, right? And we call him Tom, Mr. Tom, and he had a dairy farm that was great for turkey hunting. But after you've harvested quite a few, you're still looking for other places to go because of these birds cross over and stuff. So Ronnie, one of my favorite things is he would go to the McDonald's in Barnesville, or the Big Chick, and any person that came in, he would start asking them about, can you go to hunt there? Literally, when I left I had a job assignment there years ago, and when I left, we probably had close to 2,500 acres
That's awesome.
that we. Some of it we leased, some of it we had exclusive hunting rights to it, that we either shot them a deer or we brought them a turkey, and we just took care of them. If they needed something, we would try to help them out. If if they got down there and had a problem, sometimes they'd pick it up the phone and call us before they'd even call their kids to come down there and help it. And it was amazing watching. I didn't have those people skills even when I was around him, so I learned a lot about how to treat people, and he was always really nice to people in regards to that, and give you the shirt off his back. But he also was granted a huge amount of hunting property that he couldn't have paid for. I mean, no way he could afford to have leased that amount of property that's on there. So
and we're only allowed 2 birds in Georgia, and it happens so fast. If you got a good place, my goal this year was to get one on private, and I've already got a place locked up here. It's in Rome, and done talked to the landowner. Ladies send me pictures every week of these birds out in their field, and tons of birds. And so I think my second goal would be I always want to kill a public land, always, because it's just a feat. You're battling all these people, these weekend warriors. You're battling them to get to a bird, and so I try to kill one on public. But talk to people outside your state. Like if you're like we got Tennessee. We're talking about hunting Tennessee. We're going to film a hunt for
a guy
up there. Scott's lining that up, and then I've got friends in Florida. I've got friends in North Carolina. I used to live in South Carolina. Alabama. It's not too far a drive for us because we're so centrally located in Tennessee and Alabama that we could be there within a couple of hours.
And I think turkey hunting's different than deer hunting. I've always said this: deer hunters are a little bit more. They don't want you hunting on their property, right? A lot of people don't turkey hunt, but they have turkeys on their property, so they'll let you. They don't see that as encroaching on their hunting land or whatever, and they're more than willing to let you come out and to do it. I mean, that's the great thing. I'm hoping that we can get this video done that we're going to do, which I think is going to be really incredible. That we're going to bring you guys, which is kind of bringing us around circle. But the same thing. We were joking with one of our friends and a guide that we duck hunted with. They just got back from Hawaii. They got which I thought was really cool. They got invited after the National Wildlife Turkey Federation basically convention up here. They were up there, met a lot of people, get invited to different hunts. The other thing is you're getting a network of people, right? That I may not be good at that, but everybody's got their own unique skill set. You're a chaplain. I need a chaplain, or I need somebody for counseling. I'm probably going to call you. Somebody needs something for hospice. They're probably going to call me. It's that kind of that same thing.
It's that buddy system.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing. It's the one good part about turkey hunt was a lot about camaraderie. It's enjoying the same thing, and I've never been that I've ever gotten. I'm always the first one, like a big cheerleader, right? If you miss one, we're still patting you on the back, and we'll get another one the next time. And you're trying to do that. I mean, I think it's already a feat. And we were talking about Hunter's wife Peyton. She killed one last year, and she's not a big. Granted, she doesn't. Her husband hunts, but she doesn't hunt. And I told her, I said, I'm just going to tell you this: it's an incredible feat, even for somebody who's never hunted, to get quiet enough and still enough to still get one. All right.
Oh yeah.
And I said that to me is just, and you may not be doing it professionally, but that in itself for you to do it and not have that experience is an incredible thing. He has done a great job at training her.
Definitely. Well, when you live with him, I imagine it's probably some pressure on her. You know what I mean? Like,
she's
got to perform, for him, but that would be tough. Another thing too about land is a lot of times if your buddies have a deer lease, ask them if they don't mind you hunting their deer lease, because a lot of guys, like you said, they'll deer hunt but they don't turkey hunt.
Right.
And I've I don't always have $100, but if I have like I say, I'll give you $100. Let me just turkey hunt. And a lot of times they're like, yeah, go ahead. And if you've got a good rapport with them, they'll let you. And so I'm talking to some guys in the county from us right now, trying to get me and Scott permission to hunt. It's loaded. It's a deer property. None of those guys deer hunt. It's like 1,200 acres, and I'm trying to get us permission now to hunt turkeys there. And Scott and I have been asked to come to South Georgia to film a hunt, and do a podcast down there. And so just a lot going on. We're going to continue to talk turkey. This is turkey season. It's turkey time.
I think that's the other thing. And we love you guys if there's any questions that you want to know or things that you're curious about that we may not have covered in this, please send a reply out on these videos. Me and Stacy will get to them. We'll respond back to you. I think that if anybody that's out there, we try to be real conscientious about that. And some of the stuff that we're looking at, we may not have covered a topic that you might be interested in. So, one of the things that we were talking about the other day is like the swing bone call, right?
Yeah.
That is a unique call in itself. It's an older style call. You see some cool people using those. These are things that are out there. It's not an easy one to master, but it has an incredible sound.
It's a unique sound.
And I think that a lot of times in your arsenal, that's the other thing you got to do. You got to be willing to switch it up, right? You can't. It's not always the same cookie cutter thing. So if all of a sudden something's not working, throw something different out there, right?
That's it, yeah.
And let's see if it works.
And don't be afraid to use something different. Don't be afraid to just try. I mean,
Yeah.
if it messes up, then you know not to do it again or whatever. Just try things. That's one of the things I think I was afraid of early on, was just to try something new. You know, I thought my diaphragm sounded horrible because my dad was like, "Man, that sounds," he would be like, "That sounds terrible." And so then I realized I sound like a hen. I was like, "Man, I sound just like a hen," with my diaphragm. And he was wrong. He didn't know what he was talking about. So, but yeah, we want to answer any questions you have. We really appreciate those who comment back and let us know, how what we could do better, what we could, anything that we can cover, or any questions that we can answer. We're not professionals, but we've been doing this a long time. I've been turkey hunting since I was 19. I'll be 50 in May, and so I've been doing it a long time. I know the trials and errors of it, or I've had victories and I've had failures, and so we got a lot of talent in this room that we're going to have to train. Have you noticed that? Yeah. Especially keeping their spirits and intentions going, because they tend to wander. We have to watch them. If we could keep up with this little nut over here with the Sitka camo on, we'll be doing good if we could teach him. I'll tell you, the future looks bright if Asher's the future of hunting. I know that he's going to be a hunter. I feel in my heart he's going to be a hunter.
He done gave us the thumbs up. That's right. There.
So Asher, we appreciate y'all tuning in this week. We appreciate you guys subscribing and joining the call, and that's what it is. Is it a call? It's a call to men, young men, all men. And so Asher, what is the things that we say that when we end this podcast, what do we want people to do?
Do you know?
Like and subscribe.
That's it. All right, y'all guys have a blessed one. Thank you, Scott.
We'll talk to you next time.
Thank you, interns.
Bye-bye.